Hello and welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we've got a puzzle by Celery called Build Your Own Arrows. And the reason that I'm going to give this a go, I'm attempting this slightly earlier than usual in the day, is that we've had a lot of requests from people who've tried this puzzle and haven't managed to solve it, including one of our testers. So I'm going to have a quick go at it. It doesn't even have a rating on Logic Masters Germany, but I've done enough of Celery's puzzles in the past to know that they are brilliant. The last puzzle I did by Celery was called either Escalator or Escalation, and I think it was a disjoint subset, and that was incredible. And I've read the rules of this one, and they are really, really, really unusual. So the basic idea is that the circles have got the new circle rule. So circles tell you, if you put a digit in a circle, it tells you how many circles have got that digit in. But they also operate as arrow circles. And all of the arrows are 2 cells long, but you don't know where they are. So hence you have to build your own arrows. So it's an amazing thing, this. I get 3 given digits as well. So thank you, Celery, for that. Yeah, I'll read you the rules properly in a moment or two's time. But let me trot through some other things that are going on in and around the channel. Our Kickstarter is going gangbusters. So this is to create a sort of digital Christmas present for puzzle lovers, featuring a novella by Peter C. Hayward, and then some unknown number of Fog of War Sudokus. Well, it's at least 12 now, actually, because we've got 10 definitely from Sandra and Nala, 1 from Jay Dyer, and 1 we ticked over the second stretch goal last night. So there's going to be, we'll announce the author of the 12th puzzle probably in tomorrow's video. So that's very cool. Now the other thing I wanted to show you, actually, I've just remembered. Right, this is what I wanted to show you. This has been sent to us and created by Marek, and isn't this is absolutely stunning. So it's a picture, but there is so much. We tweeted this earlier as well. So do check it. If you want to get a copy of this, you can get it on at Cryptic Cracking, which is our Twitter handle. But look how much sort of cracking the cryptic stuff there is in here. There's Mark and I, Fistamafel. I think this is the constructor chameleon. There's a totally normal cat there. There's a tall cat here. There's a 3 in the corner, a yin-yang symbol, a snake that doesn't seem to be touching itself, a maverick, skyscrapers, clover, gas. I think this is gas in the bottom left-hand corner. And this is Sandra and Nala. And Fistamafel's got a thermometer. There could well be more stuff in here. What are these? Oh, are these sort of arrows or something pointing at Fistamafel? Isn't that? I mean, it's just fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Marek. That is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, definitely raised a smile on a Monday morning. Now, other things. I've talked about, right, the Kickstarter. Please support that if you can. Chants of Sennaar, tomorrow night, 10 p.m. UK time. We'd love to have your company. It's the last day for the Demono Sudoku hunt over on Patreon, which was our November monthly reward. So if you're still struggling with the last puzzle or so, do get your entry in by close of play today. We tend to be fairly generous with when the closing actually is, but you really haven't got long. And then also over on Patreon, we have My Solve of Phenomenon, which is a 3-hour, well, all but 3-hour Sudoku video. Phenomenon by Darth Paradox. Incredible puzzle, but let's just describe it as not easy. And I've got 2 birthdays to do today as well. So I'm going to say a very happy birthday to David over there in Hungary. Hungary, the home of Soboslai, the brilliant Liverpool midfielder. And David, I know it's your birthday because your wife Amy wrote to us. And I think you've only been married 2 months. So congratulations on being wed. And no doubt you've had your wedding cake therefore, but today could be a day for chocolate cake. Enjoy. And then also over there in Wisconsin, Ethan has turned 25 today. And I know this because your partner Taylor wrote to us and said, Ethan, you'd appreciate a shout out. So many happy returns. I hope you have a brilliant birthday. And with all that said and done, let's have a look at Build Your Own Arrows by Celery, and I will read you the rules. So we've got normal Sudoku rules apply, so the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row. in every column and in every 3x3 box. A digit in a circle indicates how many circles contain that digit. So if we put a 5 in that cell, then that would be saying that 5 circles. Can I double click circle? I can double click. Sven, you're a genius. So if you put a 5 in a circle, then 5 circles exactly 5 circles have to have 5 in them. Actually, doesn't look too difficult to do, but that's how circles work. So additionally, circles function as the circles of an arrow. Draw arrows that move orthogonally from the circle such that all arrows are 2 cells in length and cannot pass through other arrow cells or circles. Digits along an arrow must sum to the value in the attached circle, so normal arrow rules. Cells containing given digits cannot be on an arrow. So let's just try. We've got the pen tool, haven't we? Let's go to that. So imagine what we're saying is that the arrow that emanates from this circle here is 2 cells long, and it's 2 cells orthogonally. So it doesn't orthogonally means basically 2 cells are orthogonally connected if they share an edge, not a point. So something like that would be legitimate, or that, or any variety of these things. There's a lot of varieties, it seems. Maybe I can, well, let's pick, oh no, if I pick one in the corner, that still has a lot of varieties, doesn't it? Just slightly less varieties. Probably only 4 varieties of arrows can emanate from a corner cell. Yeah, so that's what we do. And let's say that was an arrow, and this was a 5, and that was a 3. That would be an 8. 5 plus 3 equals 8. That's how arrows work. Do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual, but now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And the first thing I've learnt to do in all circles puzzles is to count the number of circles. I got 19 then. That doesn't seem a propitious number. I'm going to do it again. 6, 9, 10, 12. I've got 19 again. Okay, so it's probably 19. Right. What on earth is that meant to be telling me? So I've got... Okay. I don't know what that's telling. Well, it's telling me that there's some... What I'm thinking is, if I was to put a 9 in a circle, then I have to put 9 9s in circles, and therefore 9 of the circles, 9 of the 19 circles would have 9s in them. And then I would have 10 circles left. So I could... I was about to say I could put in a 4 into a circle, 3 into a circle, 2 into a circle, and 1 into a circle, because I know that 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 equals 10. So if I put a 4 in a circle, I've got to put 4 4s in circles. If I put 3 3s in circles, and that would get me to 19. But I've realised that's wrong, because the circle does double duty, in the sense it... No, that's okay. He's right. I was then questioning something else that went off in my brain. Okay, so you cannot put less than a 1-2 pair on an arrow, can you? And that's because the arrows that we build out of the circles have to move orthogonally. So we can't do an arrow like that. If we could have done, that would have allowed that, which would have allowed an arrow circle to contain a 2. But because actually we have to move orthogonally, even if we cross a boundary like that, you can see these 2 digits that would be in row 4, they do have to be different digits. So the minimum you can put on an arrow from any of these circles is a 1-2 pair, and therefore the minimum you can put into any circle in this puzzle is a 3. And therefore, you can't do... we're not going to have loads of little digits. You could have a 3 and a 4 in a circle, but never a 1 or a 2. and we've got to get to a total of 19. So if you did have a 9 in a circle, then we need, well, we can't have 3 digits, can we? Because 3 digits, if you can't use 1 and 2, the minimum three digits would be a 3, 4, 5, which is 12. So you'd have to have 2 digits, so it'd be 9, 3, 7, or 9, 4, 6, I think. Right, so let's think about that then. Can we put... Now, the reason I'm focusing on 9, hopefully that's obvious, is that if we do have 9 nines in circles, then every single box, every single row, every single column in this puzzle has to contain a circled 9, because there are only 9 nines in the puzzle. So yeah, I mean, if, for example, I can see immediately that one of these 2 squares would have to be a 9, because there has to be a 9 in a circle in row 8. The way I got that was bizarre. The way I got that is viewing that as a sort of an X-swing on 9s, and therefore thinking the 9 in this row had to be in one of those 3 squares, but I could have just looked at row 8. Now, if there is a row, column, or I don't think there's a box that doesn't have a circle, but if there is a row or column that doesn't have a circle, we can discard 9 as a possibility, but I think, well, that would be a 9 for this column. One of these, that, one of those, that. Ah, hang on, that's a problem. I can't put a circle in row 2 now. Ooh, right, that's a huge, if that's right. Let's just... Oh, yeah, it's much easier. It's much easier than I was making it. Right, look at row 2 and row 8. I'm getting distracted as well. I'm part of a team that has been doing the Galactic Puzzle Hunt over the last week or so. My team is full of people who have hardly any time to look at said Galactic Puzzle Hunt. So, you know, we can't do it 24 hours a day. We can spend sort of 5 minutes on it on any one day. And we're on basically the last puzzle or so. And we're part of a, what do you call them, a Google spreadsheet thing where people share their ideas, and stupidly I've got this puzzle on my screen, but behind it I've got the spreadsheet, so I can see people typing things about, we're stuck on a puzzle called Slime, which I did defeat earlier. Well, I beat it, but it said I hadn't befriended the slime, which was very annoying, and I think we've only got till this afternoon to finish it, so yeah, I must ignore that. Anyway, that's by the by. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, I'd noticed that in row 2 and row 4 of this puzzle, the circle, there's only one circle in each of these rows, and they're in the same column. So imagine that we do try and put 9 nines into circles. Where are we putting the 9 in row 2? Well, it's going to have to go there. And where are we putting the 9 in row 4? Well, it's going to have to go there. Whoops, there. And we'd have 2 9s in column 2. That cannot be right. Right, so that's big, because now there is no 9 in any circle in this puzzle, and that means, well, that means that 9s throughout the puzzle have to live in non-circled cells. Right. Okay. Actually, I don't think that in and of itself is. That doesn't look too propitious to me, because I can't, you know, locking a 9 into one of 6 cells there, one of 6 cells there, one of 6 cells there. These don't seem to be aligning, do they? The sorts of areas the 9s have to live in. But we can probably get a more accurate count on the circles now, because now if you can't have 9. Can you have 8? Can you have 8 in a circle? Because that surely applies the same way for these 2 rows. So if we circle, it's more complicated, isn't it? So if we say 8 is in a circle, I mean, actually, maybe we should, let's just think about it several different ways. So if 8 is in a circle, the other digits add up to 11. So again, they have to be 2 digits, because 3, 4, 5 is 12. So if 8 is in a circle, the other 2 digits are either 5, 6 or 4, 7. Is that important? How do we see which? Oh, well, okay, no, they're not. Okay, they're not 8, 4, 7 for quite a cool reason, actually. If is this right? Yeah, I think it's right. If 8, 4, 7 was the combination for circle digits to get us up to our 19, how would we fill the circles in this row, or indeed that column, now I think about it? You couldn't do it. Because this would the 3 circle digits have to be made up of 8s, 4s and 7s, and the 4s would clash in the row or the column. So it would have to be 8, 5, 6. Now, but the thing I wanted to think about is I think this might still be under too much pressure, because if we do try and circle 8 8s in this puzzle, there can only be one row, one column, and one box that don't contain a circled 8. And we know, don't we know that one of those, therefore, it's not possible for both this row and this row to contain a circled 8. So one of those rows would have to not be, one of those rows would have to not have a circled 8 in it, which means every other row would have to have a circled 8 in it, other than these two. So, and you couldn't leave out both of these from being 8s, because then 2 rows wouldn't have 8s in, and then you'd only have 7 circlable 8s in the puzzle. Gosh, this is complicated. So one of these is an 8, which means that's not an 8. So one of these would be an 8, and we have to have a circled in each row. One of the yeah. Actually, I'm going to have to do this in a bit more of a structured way, I'm afraid. So what I'm saying is one of these is an 8. Don't know which one. That's not an 8, therefore. And every other. No, that doesn't. If that was an 8, then that would be an 8. Oh, this is complicated, actually. This is really complicated. One of these would have to be an 8, which means that couldn't be an 8, because we need an 8. We need a circled 8 in this row. One of these is an 8. I'm sorry, I can't see how to get. Maybe I'm not meant to do it that way. All right, let's try. Right, I'm going to change tack. All right, we're going to do something different. Okay. So if we're going to try to circle 8 8s, I've now noticed something in the columns. There is something in the boxes as well, which I will definitely try in a moment, but look at those cells for a moment. Now those 3 columns of the Sudoku, how many circled 8s could we possibly put into those 3 columns? I think the answer's 2. If that's an 8, then that could be an 8. If that's an 8, you can only put one 8 in those two cells. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? So from a columnar perspective, from a column perspective, a colomic perspective, one of these columns hasn't got an 8 in it, and therefore every other column does have an 8 in it, and therefore I don't believe it. That's still very unclear to me what that's doing. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. That's really, really perplexing me. I mean, there's another way we could look at this, which I've noticed that box and that box both have one circle in. So if either of these circles was not an 8, not a circled 8, every other box would have to have a circled 8 in it. But I think that I'm sort of grasping at straws here in trying to understand. And also, there's no, even if, so if 8 is involved, we know that the circles are 5, 6, 8. What if 8 isn't involved? Maybe we can disprove that. If 8's not involved, then I've got to make 19 from 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s and 7s. 3s, 4s, let's just run. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got to make 19. Now, well, oh, that's actually tricky, isn't it? Because you can't do it with 3 of them. 3 of them only add up to 18, even if you take the biggest 3. So you've got to take 4 of them. Right, and so the total for all of those, I think, is 25. And we've got to take 4 of them, such that the 4 that remain add up to 19, so you've got to take the 6 out. Right, so it's 3... I was about to say that's impossible, because I was thinking this row or this column would break it. But that's not true, is it? Because now all we're actually saying is that these circles would be from 3, 4, 5 and 7. And in fact, what that would collapse to, therefore, is you take the 4 out of the circles. You get 3, 5, 7 there, 3, 5, 7 there. What about the 3s? Are they doing anything? I don't know. Wow, okay. So I think this is why this puzzle's proving so difficult for people. It's not easy. It's not easy at the start to decide what goes in the circles. It's either 8, 5, 6 if 8 is involved, or if 8 is not involved, it has to be 3, 4, 5. Well, it has to be 3, 4, 5, 7 just to complete that sentence. But the other thought I've just had, okay, I can't really do that in my head. What I was thinking is, if you've got to put 3, 4 and 5 in circles, you're going to have to use a lot of low digits to do that. Because there's going to be 5 circles, which could only have 1s, 2s, 3s and 4s on their arrows. Three 3s would all have to be 1s and 2s, wouldn't there? 4 4s would all have to be 1s and 3s. So on those 2 sets of arrows, those 7 circles and 7 arrows, therefore, you're using up 7 ones in the puzzle, definitely. Does that matter? Maybe not. And then on this one, you're using up, well, you could only use up 2 ones, couldn't you? Because there aren't more than 9 ones in the puzzle, and you've used 7 on the 3s and the 4s. So on the 5s, of which there are 5, you've got to have at least 3 2s and 3 2 3 pairs. Oh, I think there are too many 3s in the puzzle. Ooh, this would be very interesting. Hang on. So let's just do this. If we put 3, so this one is saying put 3 3s in circles. I don't know where they could. Oh well, if we put it there, we'll get a confetti. So let's not do that. Let's put 3 3s in circles. They could all be 3s, couldn't they? So you can see now we've got 5 3s in the puzzle. Then I've got to put 4 4s in circles somewhere, and wherever I put the 4s. Yeah, this doesn't work. This definitely doesn't work. It's very clear, actually. Now I'm sort of articulating the thought more slowly in my brain. But the 4s, wherever we dispose of those, they're going to have 4 3s on their arrows, because they're all going to be 1 3 pairs. And those 1 3s are none of these 3s. These 3s consist of 3 3s in circles and 2 3s that, by the rules of the puzzle, you're not allowed to put on arrows. So the 4 4s are going to use 4 3s, and that takes us up to 9 3s, which means that the 5 5s can never use 2s and 3s. So they all have to be 1 4 pairs. But now I've got too many 1s in the puzzle, because I'll have 5 1s on these arrows, 4 1s on those arrows, and 3 1s on those arrows. Right, this is it. Okay, so now we can get rid of all this nonsense, because we know. Well, now it's big, because now we know the circles are 8 5 6, so we can just fill them all in with 8 5 6. Okay, well that's good. Well, let's get rid of that. Hang on. I don't know why I made that green. Okay, what does this mean? Well, okay, I know one thing it means. We can go back to our 8 thinking, because didn't we say there had to be an 8 in one of those 2 squares? I think we did, because we can't have 2 rows that miss a circled 8, so that's not an 8. Oh, come on, what am I meant to do now? I feel that's a big breakthrough we've made, and it doesn't actually. I don't know what it's doing. It might be that I'm doing this puzzle all wrong. It might be you actually have to think about where the arrows can go. Ab initio, and that might distill down the constellation of numbers you can put in the circles. Yeah, for instance, that cell is a 2-cell arrow, and it's either that way or that way, isn't it? So if that's a 6, this would be a 2 4 arrow, because if this is a 6, one of these is a 5, and it couldn't be a 1 5 pair that goes with the 6. In fact, if that's an 8, this has to be a 1 7 pair. There's nothing in common between 1 7 and 2 4 though. But if that's a 5, it could be 2 3 or 1 4 in either direction. That's very annoying. Although, would that put pressure on? No, it wouldn't. Okay. I'm a bit nonplussed by this, actually. Let's let's think again then. Let's think again about eights. How do we dispose 8 eighths around these circles? So the one thing I didn't get round to thinking about properly was, can you leave out one of these from being an 8? So if we left out this one, if we said that is not an 8, then then that would become an 8, because every box apart from this one has to have a circled 8 in it. So that's a circled 8. Oh, hang on, I want to make that green, not put a 3 in it. So that would be a circled 8. That's now not a circled 8. So we're saying that is not a circle. That's how we started. We said, what happens if this is not a circled 8? It's not. Oh, I suppose each of these boxes is a circle, has a circled 8 in it. So that does allow me to apply the logic along row 8 and say one of these has to be a circled 8, because I need a circled 8 in this box, and it can't be there because that will put 2 circled 8s in the bottom row. So that's a circled 8, so that's a circled 8. Aha! Which means that's a circled 8 in the corner. That's a circled 8. This is going to work, isn't it? This is going to work. Circled 8, well no, hang on, no, not a circled 8. So there is an uncircled 8 in one of those. And I see that's a circled 8. So in fact, look at that. That's amazing. So if we assume that this is not an 8, then you can place all the 8s in the puzzle. Right, so what we need to do is to think about the counterfactual then. So what happens if instead we say that this is not an 8? Does that do similar damage? Then this is an 8, and every other box has an 8 in it, so that's an 8. There's an 8 in one of these two. Well, that's unsurprising. There's an 8 there. There's an 8 there. What's going on now? One of these has to be an 8. That has to be an... Oh, wow, hang on, no, I don't like that. No, this doesn't look right all of a sudden. Let me try it a different way. That's got to be an 8, so that's got to be an 8. That's got to be an 8. That's... Oh, no, it doesn't work. That's really clever. I don't know how... Right, okay, you can't. This is an 8. But you know what? I've had another horrible thought. Well, I think all I'm proving here is that this is an 8 in the finished puzzle. I don't think I'm necessarily proving that this isn't, because I could have a situation where both of those are 8s. Oh, bobbins. Right, but let's just double check this. So what I'm saying is, if this is not an 8, I have to put a circled 8 in every box. And it breaks in a... Well, it just depends which order you go in. But if you make that an 8, you can see this has to be an 8 now. And now your 8 in this box is in one of those two squares, and you simply can't put a circled 8. Because one of those is a circled 8. There's no place for an 8 in this box, and there's no place for an 8 in that box. Therefore, you can't circle 8 8s. So, alright, so we come back. This is an 8. That is not an 8. That is, let's give it a proper, it's proper greenliness. Now, this is now not an 8. But we know that if this is expressly not an 8, we know that the puzzle, we can fill 8 8s. That looked right to me. So the other alternative is that this is an 8, and this is an 8. But then you don't know anything about... Then you don't know anything about the ordering in terms of... You still don't know which box has an uncircled 8 in it. Can we do the column tricks now that I was finding? So I found that there were 2 8s maximum in those squares. So every other column has to have... Yeah, there we go. Look. Okay, so let's go back to this idea around these purple 8s. So, number of 8s in these purple squares. I'm just double checking it in my brain. It does, I mean, I can't see how you can possibly put, the only way to put, this is in 3 different columns. So if you put 3 8s, that's got to be an 8, and then you've got to have an 8 here and an 8 in one of those, and there is just no way to do it without repeating 8s. It's very clear, really, if you articulate it that way. Now, what this means is every other column, other than one of these, which is 8less, has an 8 in it. So this column does have an 8 there, and that's forced now by that logic now. This is now not an 8, and therefore by Sudoku for the first time, that is an 8, because we know that the 8, 8, 5, 6 is a triple. So this is not an 8. Oh, right, okay, so that goes back to the original conclusion that one of those needed to be an 8. Right. So can we take this forward any further is the next question. Or is there another way to think about this that's slightly different? I don't know, actually. I'd really love to know, but I don't know how to do it. Bother. Now. No, what I was about to say I don't think is true. I was about to claim that this had to be a 1-7 pair. But I think that there is a way it might not be. I think there's only one way this isn't a 1-7 pair. Because the 5 and the 6 in its box are not available for the arrow. And the 5 and the 6 in this box are not available for this one's arrow. So the only way this isn't a 1-7 pair, because there are 3 ways of making 8 in 2 cells. You could have 1-7, 2-6 and 3-5. Is if this arrow goes straight across here, and this was a 2-6 pair, and you put the 2 there, and you made that a 6, what's wrong with that? That would be a 5, that would be a 6, that would be a 5. I don't know. There might be something wrong with that, but I'm not sure what it is. Okay. Wow, so what are we meant to do now? We don't know, do we, whether this is an 8 or not in the finished puzzle. We know if that's not an 8, we can fill the 8s. If that is an 8, maybe if that is an 8, you get a problem. Let's have a check of that. So if that's an 8, let's make it blue. If this is 8, then that's an 8 by Sudoku, isn't it? And that's an 8 by Sudoku, because you need to put an 8 in the triple in this column. Yeah, there might be a way of viewing this so that's a bit like that, to think about triples rather than... Yeah, so in the triple... No, hang on, that's not right. Oh, this is tricky. This is tricky. So in this situation, I've got 1, 2, 3, I've got 6 8s identified. This can't be an 8. One of these is an 8. But in this column, I needed an 8, and that one can't be, so that would be an 8, which means in this triple, that's an 8. Oh, this is going to work again, isn't it? So I think there are 2 configurations of 8s that work, which is infuriating. So how are we going to distill which of these is correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's an 8 here, which is uncircled, and that would be the uncircled 8. I mean, how do you tell? And it's very difficult, actually, at least for me. It's very difficult for me to look at this configuration and say, okay, for some reason, that configuration of 8s is worse. That's these blue ones. So this is one configuration of 8s. Now the other configuration was when I made this not an 8. If I made that not an 8, every other box had to have a circled 8 in it. And how did that resolve then? I can't remember now. But I don't think it did get this pattern. But it was still a forcing pattern. Oh yeah, we still have to have a circled 8 in this column. So instead, that flips down here to there. So we get an 8 here, which means that can't be an 8. There must therefore be an 8 there. And we know there must be there must be 2 circled 8s in these columns, or we've got a big problem. So that becomes a circled 8. Maybe we can find that maybe there will be at least one cell that's a common 8 between these. This now has to be an 8 in this box's triple. So that one is always 8. That was a yellow 8 and a blue 8. Yeah, so that's quite interesting. Okay, if that's not an 8, then that's an 8 in the corner, which means, oh, we already know that's an 8. So how many? Okay, so I see we're going to have a non-yellow 8, aren't we? That's forced here. And that's going to be in exactly that cell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then blue, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 2 configurations. That's rotten. That's so tricky. That is so difficult. And one of these is wrong, obviously. How on earth are we meant to see which of those is wrong? I'm looking at it, trying to distill it for you and me. I mean, what we have learnt, I suppose, is that that is always an 8. So let's put that in, which means that is always not an 8. So there's a 5, 6 pair here. So that's never an 8. But to look, it doesn't really affect anything. If that's a 5, so there's an 8 in one of these 2 cells. Yeah, and that's what we've learnt from our colouring. So if that's an 8 in the corner, 5 and 6 are in these squares, and this has to be a 1, 7 pair, but it could be that way or that way. Okay. What does that mean? Wow, I don't know. Is there some other way we can think about this that would help me? Or is there another cell that's got yellow and blue colouring? This is very difficult, actually, this one. This is very challenging, because even to get here, I feel we've done quite well. I mean, we haven't had several stupid thoughts in a row. We've sort of bumbled our way to this point. But now I'm not sure what to do. It feels like this is going to be harder for that to be an 8, doesn't it? Because that was going to force a 1-7 either there or there. But why would that be a problem? Or maybe, actually, hang on. I had a thought then that seemed sensible to me. If that's a 6, the world is quite a difficult place to be, isn't it? Let's just think about that. Maybe that's the point. All I'm thinking there is if that's a 6, this is a 5, obviously. How do we build an arrow that's going to work from this cell? I think any arrow we build has to be a 2-4 arrow, doesn't it? Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my goodness me. That's huge. That is absolutely huge. Don't even know if it's going to do anything, but it's very exciting as a quick thought. Okay, yeah, I've spotted something much more interesting about this. So if this is 6, how do we make it work? Bear in mind, there's now a 5 in the column. So can we ever build a 2-cell arrow from here that's a 1-5 pair? We can't go straight down because there's a 5 in one of these. So we can't go straight down to make a 1-5 pair. In fact, if this is a 6, you can't go down at all because you can't make a 2-4 pair down here because that 4 is given and not allowed to be on the arrow. So the arrow that emanates from this 6 sits, it can't get out of box 4 and it can't involve as another circle digit. So there is a 2-4 pair in this box on the 6 arrow, however it's drawn. Well, what do we put on the 5 arrow then? How do you get this 5 arrow out of the box? And I don't think there's a way because of the way that Celery has packed this 5 in. You could go that way, you can't get out that way, you can't run into another circle, you can't run into a given, so you can't get out. And if there's 2-4 on this 6 arrow, how do you make that 5 arrow add up to 5? You can't use 1-4 and you can't use 2-3. It doesn't work. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Right, so this is 5, this is 6, this is 5. That now is 5. Right. Don't tell me that's going to... Okay, so if that's 6 now, that's a 2-4 pair because it can't involve 5. So if that's 6, that's 8. This 8 would be... We wouldn't know, I don't think. I think this 8 could be... It doesn't have to be a 1-7 pair. I mean, it would be a 1-7 pair if it went vertical, because it would see 5 and 6 in its column, but why does it need to go vertical? It doesn't. This 6 has to be a 2-4 pair, doesn't it? It cannot get to a 5 that is uncircled anywhere near it. So this is a 2-4 pair, but what does that mean? I mean, I can't even pencil mark that in. I don't know. So, okay, but if the 6 is a 2-4 pair, this 5 can't stay in its box. Oh, hang on, that's not 5. Yeah, this is quite interesting. Yeah, I know. Don't ever talk to me at a party. It's the best way to ruin the party. If this 6, and it is, I don't know how to pencil mark this, but this 6 is a 2-4 pair, and it sits in this box. So this 5 cannot have its arrow sit entirely in this box because it couldn't be a 2-3 or a 1-4 pair. So I think that means it has to go downwards, and this is going to be our first arrow. Can't bump into this. This is a given. Right. So this... Oh, it's nearly brilliant, but it's not quite brilliant. This can't be a 1-4 arrow, so that is a 2-3 arrow. And the 6 up here needs to get a 2, so it doesn't get a 2 from here anymore. So it's going somewhere. Right, so I suppose what we could do is make that pencil mark. The 6 arrow does not go left. Right, okay. Okay, so let's have another think up here now. If this was a 6, it couldn't be a 1-5 pair, and if it was a 2, oh, it would be a 2-4 pair that couldn't go down. So it would be a 2-4 pair, and it would be exactly those. And then this 5 couldn't... Well, hang on. This 5 would have to be... It would have to get outside the box, wouldn't it? So it would have to go to there, because it couldn't live in the box and just because it couldn't be 2, 3 or 1, 4. So this square would be a 1 or a 3, and this square would be a 2 or a 4. And that would be fine, I think. No. Wow, this is very difficult. This is a very difficult point. No, well, it's not. No, it's not a very difficult point. It's beautiful. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. I've now seen a way to think of it as an easy point. Well done, brain, for once. Okay, we've worked out this 6 arrow is a 2-4 pair, and we worked out the 2 on that arrow is in one of these 4 squares, which means the 4 on this arrow is meant to be in one of those 4 squares as well, and it can't be. So if you make this a 6 in the corner, you can't make this 6 work, and that means we can go back, and we've finally worked out, I think, which way round yellow and blue go, because yellow, this can't be 6 anymore, so that is 8, which means that the congregation of 8s sit in the yellow cells, not the blue cells. Let's check we've got all of them there, so we can unbluify the grid. Let's just get rid of all the blues now. We know that's disproved, which means we do get a 6 in the corner down here. We get a 6 here. We can probably get rid of our purplification as well. Let's get rid of the yellow and change all of those into greens. That's now not an 8. And okay, so this being a 6, right, so this is now a 1-5 arrow. Where's this getting its 5 from? It can't be 2-4 arrow, it's got to be a 1-5 arrow. There's a 5 there and a 5 there, so that's got to be the 5, and that's got to be the 1, and we've got another arrow done. So now, what are those digits? They're a 7-9 pair. Ah, that's so annoying. I thought we were going to therefore learn where this 8 went. But actually the 8 could dip down there and turn right and be a 7-1 arrow, so that's probably fine. I mean, it might not be fine for some reason I've not seen, but it's certainly not obvious that this doesn't take this square. Okay, so there's a 4 in one of those squares which belongs to this 6 arrow. Yeah, maybe this was the way to think about it. Then there's a 4 up here. The 8 up here can't involve 5 or 6, so it's a 1-7 pair, and it must be horizontal because it can't involve the 4 that I now know is in these squares. So this is 1, this is 7. That finishes off that arrow. 1 now sits in one of these squares. The 5 now, do we know what that, or maybe we know what the 6 is? Oh, well, hang about for a moment. Yeah, this 6, how does it go to that square? Well, if this 6 goes to this square needs to either be part of a 1-5 pair, which it's not. There's a 1-5 in the box there, so it would have to be part of a 2-4 pair. But it can't be part of a 2-4 pair because this arrow has a 2-4 pair for this box. Not that we can't share it with that one. So that allows us to put that in. Now that means that this is... it's probably going 2-4 that way, isn't it, looking at it? If it goes that way. Does the 5 have to get out of the box, or do we not know that? 5 can't take a 4 because it would need a 1, and the 1 is unavailable. So this square can be neither 1 nor 4. So this is a 2-3 pair. But that, again, that's really awkward. That's all. I don't think I can do it, can I? Well, no, I mean I can do. What I mean is I don't think I know which way round it goes. Sorry if you're all seeing the way and I'm not seeing it. I'm feeling a bit slow there. Oh no, here's a much easier point. Where's 3 in that box? It's got to go there. Oh, so this 6 can't go there because it would be a double 3 arrow or something. So the 6 goes this way, and it must be a 2-4 pair. So it must need the 4, and that must be the 2, and that's a 9, and that's lovely. And for the first time, relatively straightforward. That's the first point I thought, oh, I've missed something absolutely glaringly obvious. And I know the comments are now going to be filled with, no, you missed X, Y, Z. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. So this 5 has to get out now, and that has to be a 2. So if that's a 5 now, it would have to be a 1-4 pair, because the next digit couldn't be a 2 or a 3. In fact, if that's a 6, it has to be a 1-5 pair. Well, yeah. Oh, I see. Whatever this is, because it's got sort of fenced in, it can't take this square as its arrow. And it can't take either of those squares because there's only one cell. So the arrow that's built from that goes down 2. That's rather lovely. And if this is 5, this is a 1-4 pair. We would know the order. And if this is a 6, it would be a 1-5 pair. And that would be a 5 and that would be a 1. I don't believe it. Literally all options are still available, aren't they? That's amazing. That's amazingly depressing as well. Okay, so there's a 2 over here, and this is a 2-3 pair. Okay. Oh, look, well that's very suggestive. This is a 5 and just goes sideways right. Maybe for a 3 in the corner. We definitely know there's a 1 on this arrow. That is something we do know. So 1 is trying to be restricted in a few places. We know this 6. Oh, hang on. What have we got in this column? We haven't put 1 and 7 in. 1 and 7 are in those squares. So do they just naturally attach to this then? Is that what we're learning? Is there a way? We couldn't have a double 4 arrow on an 8. But oh, I think we looked at this. Didn't we think about whether this could be a 2-6 arrow going sideways? No, it can't be a 2-6 arrow because the 2 and the 4 are hypothecated to this. So this can't be a 3-5. There's no 5 it can avail itself of that's not circled. It can't be 2-6 because that square cannot be given to it as a 2, given there's a 2 on the 6 arrow. So this is a 1-7 pair, and we know exactly where it must be located, therefore. Right, okay, so let's pencil mark all of these digits, 2, 3, 4, and 9. And let's just see. I see, so we get a 3 there. That's been obvious for ages. Sorry if you've been shouting at me about that. This is the exit route that the 6 takes, so that is definitely not a 9, because it's got to go orthogonally. And that's a 7. Oh no, that's 7. That's annoying. So that does still allow for this to go 8, 7, 1. Imagine setting this. It's absolutely absurd. This is a 4-9 pair. Oh, that's great if that's right. Yeah, okay, so it was Sudoku that was saving me. In this row, I'm not quite sure how I didn't see this before, but there's a 4-9 pair, so that's got to be a 1, that's got to be a 5, that's got to be a 6, that's got to be a 5, which is what we thought might happen. And that square's a 7. So these squares are 1 and 9. And these squares are 4, 6, and 7. I don't believe it. That 5 could be 4-1 then. So we don't know whether the 5 is 4-1 or 5-2-3. Hang on, what's going on here? Oh, we don't know whether the 8 could go 1-7 like that. This is bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. Right, okay. So I haven't got a clue. How am I meant to do this then? It's amazing how many options these circles have. Is it Sudoku? It could always be, couldn't it? 3 is in one of those squares by Sudoku. This 5, do we know what that is? Well, if it goes up, that would have to be part of a 1-4 pair. We'd have to do that, because of the 2-3 being there. So if it goes up, that's a 1-4 pair. But if it goes to this square, that could be a 4 or a 3 or a 2, I think. I've still got these circles where I probably do know how to allocate them by now, but I don't know. I don't know how to do it. Oh, I know what we might be able to do, though. Hang on. There are 11 cells in the puzzle that are 5s and 6s, aren't they? I wonder if I can pair them up. Hang on. Let's try this for a moment. This might be a fool's errand, actually. No, maybe not. Right, okay, so what I'm going to claim is that there's a 5-6 pair there. This might not work. I'm just playing with an idea. Those two are a 5-6 pair. Now in this box, no, I'm going to do that differently. I'm going to say in that row, those 2 squares are a 5-6 pair. In this column, those 2 squares are a 5-6 pair. Now I just need one more now. I've got it. Yeah, look, those 2 squares are a 5-6 pair. So if you, hang on, let's use a better colour. So we can see that all of those different colours I've just highlighted are paired up, aren't they? In the sense that it's not possible for one of these colours to contain both numbers by the rules of Sudoku. Therefore, and there are 5 different colours, so this is 5 6s and 5 5s, but we know we need a surplus of 6s. They've got to be 6 circles with 6s, and that's telling us what this is, and that's the way you're meant to, I'm sure, disambiguate this bottom part of the grid. Now, yeah, here we go. That's so lovely as a sort of logical idea, and the moment I thought to do it, I knew it would be right. 5 goes there by Sudoku, so we're getting a bit of help from Sudoku suddenly. Yes, 5 by Sudoku goes here. Let's double click the 6s. That's no longer a 6. Double click them again. Let's hope that. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. No, there's an X-wing of 6s left. Botheration. Can this get hold of a 5 from anywhere? No. Okay, I don't know how to pencil mark this, but this must be a 2-4-6, a 2-4 flavour, because it can't get hold of an uncircled 5 to be a 1-5 pair. But, I mean, I don't know how to pencil mark it, I don't know which direction it goes. I just know that's a 2-4. Well, that does mean one thing, which is also fairly useless, but that means that this 5 must go out of box 9. Because it can't live in... Well, no, that's not even true. Because maybe the 6 could go up 2 and the 5 could go down 2. And then it could... Oh, bother. No, ignore me. I'm being a bit dense there. Sorry. Okay, well, the 5 now can't go into a 6. So the 5 goes there. Possibly into a 3. I mean, that square is 2, 3 or 4. By Sudoku. It looks like it wants to be a 2-3 pair, but that's not the same as it actually being forced to be a 2-3 pair. If it turns, if it goes here and turns, it is a 2-3 pair, so that would have to be the 3. And there would have to be then a 2 in one of those. I don't know, that might be fine, I'm not sure. Wow, okay. 1 is now in one of these 3 squares, which means 1 is in one of 2 cells in box number thingy. The technical term. What about 7 in this box then? 7 is in one of 2 places. It would be good if we could isolate the 7 somewhere where it wasn't near an 8, wouldn't it? 7 is in one of those 2 squares as well. Look at how many ways these 8s can be 1-7s. There is a gargantuan number of ways that is possible. Tiny point again. I mean, we're living by tiny points here. This 6 can't go down into the 5 because its next digit would need to be a 1, and there seems to be a 1 over here, so it couldn't get a 1. So that cell is building its... That doesn't mean it's not a 1-5, does it? Or does it mean that? It might mean that as a corollary. Where does it get? There's 5s in those squares around it. So yeah, this 6 is a 2-4. Haven't we said that before? Was that 6 was a 2-4? I think it was. So this 6 is a 2-4. But it could well be a 2-4 going vertically. I mean, that square can't be 4, but it could be 2. And then it could dip up here and get the other 4 that it needs. If that was 2-4, that would be 3. And that would be 2 possibly. It's still really tricky. It's really tricky. Which probably means I've missed some Sudoku. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I believe what I've just said. It does just feel this is a difficult puzzle. I'm an hour and 10 minutes into it. And I mean, it's a fascinating puzzle, but I don't think it's easy. I really don't. 1, 4, 7, 9. Right, that square is a 1 or a 4 by Sudoku. It can't be 7 or 9. Is that helpful? I don't know. Yeah, look, this 8 could go 7, 1. If that 8 went straight down, how does that work? Does that block this 8 off? I'm wondering if this 8 comes to this square, does it give this 8 a problem? Because if this 8 does come to this square as its first move, its second move is going to be there or there, which means it can't be a 5-6 pair, and it would be a 1-7 pair, but so would this one be, and that couldn't work. Yeah, there's a tiny deduction there, look. So if we're saying if we go down there for this 8, then actually, I mean, to be honest, I hadn't considered this going up like that, but it doesn't. The maths doesn't work. Okay, so how does this? If this goes down to here, we can see this square is a 1 or a 7, because the 2 cells that are on this one's arrow now must be in this box. So it can't be 5-3, it can't be 6-2. So it is one. This is a 1-7. This one now can't go there because it would share an arrow. I don't think there is another way it gets out other than going 7 and then a 1 here, which makes this a 7, and there's no 1 available for this 8's arrow. So this doesn't go down. That's an X, and it must go sideways. Now, is that going to tell us what it is? Is it... Well, this digit here, but it could then dip down, maybe. Well, we can see it can't get hold of a 5, and it can't get hold of a... Oh, it could... No, it can't get hold of a 6, I don't think. Where does this get a 6, an uncircled 6 from? It could have got that one, but it can't. It's too far away. No, there's no way. So this is a 1-7 pair, which means this is a 7. It doesn't mean that's a 1. It might once we do the next bit of, in fact it does, because the next bit of thinking is to say where does it get its 1? It can't get it from there. So that is a 1, and that is an arrow done. And therefore these squares are not 1. This 5 now can't be a 1-4 pair, can it? Because it can't have a 1 on its arrow, because the 1's been used up. So this is a 2-3 pair. And that ridiculously, you still don't know, I don't think I know, whether it goes up or that way. I mean, that's quite incredible. That is quite incredible. Okay, so now this 6 though, the 6 can't bump into the 8. So the 6, we can put in another pencil mark here. We know, do we know this 6? Yeah, this 6 can't get a 5, so this is a 2-4. So it's either that's a 2 or a 4, which would have to be a 2, or that's a 2 or a 4, which would have to be a 2. So there is a 2 in... Oh, well, that's quite cool. That's going to resolve this, if that's right. Is that right? It's got to go one of those two directions. Neither of those two directions can be a 4, so there is a 2 in one of those cells, which means that's a 3. That's rather lovely. Which, is that doing stuff though? 3 is now in one of 2 places down here. 2 is in one of 2 places in this box. Well, I mean, that's outrageous. I don't know if I mean, I will use it because I think it's quite beautiful, but this is an outrageous spot actually. Again, makes me think there's an easy way to do this, but look, if this 5 now turns up and makes a 2-3 pair in those 2 squares, look at the effect on this box. These can no longer be 2 and 3 in the column, and the only places for 2 and 3 in the box are in the same cell, and that is not a Schrödinger cell, not in this puzzle. So that tells us that this doesn't turn up, it continues. That, oh, whoopsie whoopsie, that's a 2-3 pair. Neither of these is, we can, this is now 4. Let's do that. There's no 4 in these squares. One of these is a 2. We probably know which one, but I don't know how to tell. Right, we've got 1, 7 and 9 into those squares. One of those is definitely a 9. And these squares are 4 and 9 actually. Just by the box logic, so that's going to do some tidying up over here. That becomes 2, that becomes 9. These squares are now known. They are 2, 4 and 6. That's not 6. And that's got to be a 1 or a 7. Predictably enough, because it's in the vicinity of a whole load of 8s. Okay. Right. This 6, I still don't think I know whether it goes like that to be a 2-4. It can't go that way because the 4 will clash. If it goes that way, that's a 2 and that's a 4. Hang on, that feels like... Oh, so that would be 3 and that would be 9. That might be fine. Goodness me. Wow. Okay, do we know what flavour this is? It's 1-7, isn't it? It can't get hold of a 6 or a 5 that's not circled or too far away. So this is 1-7. If it goes there, where's it getting its 7? Well, if it goes there, that square's got to be on its arrow, because it's got to be a 1-7 pair, and that will be the 1 if it goes. So maybe this is always a 1, but we don't know. That's weird if that's right. That makes me think I've made a mistake, because it feels like it's ambiguous in terms of how the arrow. I suppose unless Unless there's something else going on with this 6. How do I know whether this arrow... I suppose if that's not a 7, that would also do it. Yeah, perhaps actually this is where I'm meant to focus. In fact, have I broken this, haven't I? I think I've broken... Oh no, I see I can give this one the 5. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. I'm not sure if it's broken. It might still be broken, but what I'm noticing is this 8, it can't avail itself of a 6. There are no uncircled 6s in its area. It can't be a 1-7 pair, because this is going to take one of those digits from this box, and the only way this could be a 1-7 pair then, not using the cells in its box, is if it goes sideways that way, but this couldn't be a 1-7 pair because there's a 1 here. So the only thing this can be is 3-5. Now 3-5 is possible because this 5 is available to it. So this is... Oh, I don't know how to do this, but that is an arrow. It's obviously not the right arrow because the 3... we're going to have to do a rinky-dink. A little bit of a shuffle to get that to work. But this is a 3-5 arrow, this 8. And doesn't that mean this is a 1-7 arrow? This is mind-blowing, actually. It really is. No, it doesn't, you know, because couldn't this one unbelievably be 2-6 going upwards? Or maybe that... Do we work out what this one could be? That one can't get a 5. So this is... I think the other thing I'm thinking about this puzzle is that if there was a way to somehow pencil mark it more efficiently, it would really help. Maybe what we do is we pencil mark these squares with 1, 4 and 9, and we note that's not 1. What about this one? No, okay, that didn't work. Hang on, that pencil mark is not right, what I've just done there, because I haven't got the 3 count correct. No, it's 1, 4 and 3, isn't it? So this is 3 or 4. It's 1, 3 or 4. That's awful as well. Well, no, that's awful. That could belong to the 6 or the 5. Probably. There's no triples or anything in this column, is there? Because we've got an awful lot of pencil marking done. 7, 9. No, I still don't think that's doing anything either. If this goes up like that, that is going to force this. Yeah, we might be able to disprove that, actually. If this does that motion, so this is a 3 now, how does this 6 become the 2-4 pair it's destined to be? It can't go sideways that way. So it has to be a 2-4 pair this way, and that is broken, because its next cell needs to be a 2 or a 4, because it can't be a 1 or a 5 because of this. So in fact, yeah, so that's not going to work. So this does do that. And that's a 3, and therefore that's a 4 by Sudoku, that's a 1, that's a 3. Ah, we don't get a 3 in the corner up there. That's a surprise. But let's keep going. I'm also worried about this 8 arrow being, especially if that's a 7. It's totally ambiguous. Oh, this doesn't feel good at all. I think I might have made a mistake. But let's just carry on and pray. 3 and 2, 4 and 9, 4 and 9. And what do we need in this column? Please be something useful. It's 8. Oh, it is. Oh no, it's not 8. Thank goodness it's not 8. 2. Well, okay, that's good for this one, because this can't. Well, one of the options I wondered about was this, isn't it? Ah. Yeah, is it as simple as saying if this, maybe I've butchered this in terms of how difficult this deduction is, but if this ever goes to this square, this is definitely a 2-4 pair, so that's 2 or 4 belonging to this, and this cannot grow at all. Yeah, so that's the way I could have done that much more quickly. I could have done that. I could have seen it had to go into this box. And then I get a 7-9 pair here. This is absolutely terrifying though, because if that's a 7, I don't see how I'm ever going to disambiguate that, the way that this arrow grows. So I really want this square. I want this square to be a 7, is what I want. I suppose it might get resolved over on this side of the grid. 1s, 7s and 9s into those squares. Where is this 6 getting its 2-4 pair from now then? This has got to be 2 or 4. Ah, so I've now got a 2-4 pair in the column, and that's a 7 up there. So that's not a 7. This is coming down here, and then it's going to get... Which way is it going? Do we know? Of course we don't. Really? Really? And this 5, it could go 1-4. It could go 4. No, it can't. 4-1. What? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a way of doing this with some sort of linear efficiency, but I do not know what that way is. Okay, if the 5 goes down to the 3, it would have to join a 2, which is hypothecated for the 6. So the 5 definitely doesn't go here. That's a truism. So the 5 is going out. It's taking a cell up here, isn't it? And can this be a 2-3? No, it can't get a 3 up here. The 3's too far away. So this 5 is a 1-4 pair for certain. But that is not the end of the story, because it could be a 1-4 pair like that, or a 4-1 pair like that. But if it was a 4-1 pair like that, it would have to be 2-6, and it could be. I don't believe it. What about, can we disprove 1-7 for this one then? Is that the point? Why couldn't this be a 1-7 and that be a 1-4? There might be a reason. I don't know what it is. Golly gosh, is it to do with this one? Oh, yeah, maybe it's this one I should have been looking at. I've not looked. Oh no, it's not, is it? Because this could be 1-7 going down there, or it could be 1-7 going up there, or it could be 6-2 going up. Oh, this 5 I've not looked at for a while. There's still loads to do here. This is still monstrous. And why? I mean, the 5 obviously has the 3 and the 2 available to it, which suggests that there must be a reason. Well, I suppose if that was a 6, then it's never. But if that's a 6, it feels like something like 8-6-2 is disproving, and then that's going to force the 5-4-1 or something like that. Is how this is going to unwind itself. Let me think. I haven't got anything to tell you about this. This is confusing me. Okay. Ah, no, I see. It's this one. Right. It's this one I needed to look at next. Where this one, it can't get an arrow from down here. Now this one's gone down. So it must go up into this square, and therefore this is a 1 or a 7. So that's the first deduction. Now the second deduction is where does it get its other 1 or 7? Well, not there. It needs another odd number, so it's got to go there. So this is, so please let this work. That's 1, that's 7, and that's great. That's 9, which is what I was hoping for, because I couldn't see how this arrow was ever going to work. So it does do that. And, right, great. So now that's not 7. This is now 1. That's a 9. Is that right? Now this one is forced up. That's good. So that's got to be 4, which means that's 2, which means that's 1, and that's 7. But, oh, this is beautiful, actually. I can see how this is working now. Okay, so now because this has to go to there, that has to be a 4-1 arrow. Now how does this 8 complete? It can't be 1-7, and it can't be 3-5, because it's not allowed to use the given 3. So it is 2-6, but it still can be just about like that. And now the 4 and the 6 at the top. Oh, goodness me. So this is how this is going to work now. Because how does this 8 complete? It can't go 7-1 anymore, so it must go 6-2 into the corner, which means the 5 goes 4-1 down because it can no longer be 3-2. This is extraordinary. And then that's a 4 at the bottom, and I need to put a 2 with that, which is going to be that one. And the last digit is a 9 in the corner. I feel like singing for that. And that's how it looks, I think. That felt... Oh, no, haven't finished the puzzle. That's a 7, and that's a 1. So let's just check. Has every circle got an arrow? No. That's necessary to finish that 6 arrow off. I mean, admittedly, it's a nicety that hopefully people would have forgiven me for, but I think that's the solution. Let's see if it's got a solution in it. No, I've got 2-8. Oh, is that a... Please let that be... No, that's a misprint. That's a misprint, because I tried to put 7 in there. I even remember doing it. So, hopefully, yes. 16 people only have solved that in 25 days. Goodness me, yeah, that's a brute. It's brilliant. It's brilliant, though, isn't it? I mean, the logic in that is so interesting. I wonder at many points whether there was some subtlety that would have got me there a bit more quickly. But I loved it. Very interesting, Celery. Seriously interesting. Very unusual. And to be honest, I'm relieved to have got through it. Thank you very much for watching if you're still here now. Let me know in the comments how you got on. Please support the Kickstarter, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.